Hello everyone, it's Father Gaffney, and I'm here with Michael Benson, and we're going to have a little conversation this morning. Michael is a parishioner. Michael has been very involved with the Knights of Columbus locally in Rhode Island, and now even nationally. And the occasion is really the beatification of Fr Michael McGivney, which took place just very recently, and Michael was able to go to that beatification. And so we'd like to just talk a little bit about this special occasion for the Knights of Columbus. But Mike, why don't you say a little bit about your involvement with the Knights of Columbus so that people might know?
So my initial recollection of the Knights of Columbus, my father was involved in Dayton, Ohio. And I'm the oldest of 10 children. And the treat for us each week was to be able to accompany him to the Knights of Columbus Bowling League on Monday nights. And so for a while, all of us thought that just the Knights of Columbus were a bowling league. And it was not long after that we realized that it was really just a strong family organization. So that was my first involvement. I then moved to Connecticut through work in the early 90s and joined the Knights of Columbus there. It was a wonderful experience with Lady of Assumption Parish. Monsignor Gentoli was the pastor. He was very involved and kind of re-stoked those fires that I remembered from my earlier days. But moved to Rhode Island in 98 and joined St. Bernard's and joined the Knights of Columbus Council here. So from there I became the Grand Knight at our local council, St. Francis, and then moved into some state responsibilities as past state deputy a few years ago, and now I'm on the board of directors for the Supreme Council in New Haven.
That's great. And Father Michael McGivney, I'm not sure that everyone is really familiar. His story, I think, is going out. The Knights would know it, but I think many people are starting to read a little bit about Father McGivney. Maybe a little background on this new beatified.
So Father McGivney was born in the 1850s in Waterbury, Connecticut, and one of 13 children. He was the oldest of 13. And some things I've learned since then that I didn't realize then, at the time he was born, the Catholic Church in America was still considered a mission church. And there was a great anti-Catholic and even greater anti-Irish sentiment at the time. So he grew up in those kinds of surroundings. But he was influenced during his childhood to enter the seminary by his local pastor, Father Thomas Hendricken, who later would become the Bishop of Providence and was instrumental in the great growth that this diocese experienced at that time. So we have kind of a local connection there as well. Then fast forwarding a few years, Father McGivney passed away at a young age, and all the councils that were established at that time, there were 57, came to his funeral, and 2 of those were from Rhode Island. The first one, and then the most recent one, Councils 21 and Councils 57.
And I know Father McGivney was very concerned about the times and some secret societies and that anti-Catholicism, and he wanted within the church to have this kind of fraternal society that would be a support, but would also be a kind of a means of outreach, especially to those who are poor, a lot of widows. And so he has this whole idea of creating a fraternal organization within the Catholic Church.
He does. In fact, I appreciate you saying that, Father, because one of the things that impressed me about Father McGivney is that realizing that 80 years before Vatican II, he realized the importance of the laity involved in parish life. And because of the times, most of the jobs that the men at his parish could get were the dangerous jobs, the ones that nobody else wanted, the ones that could cause losing limbs and even death. And as a result of that, there were a lot of widows in his parish. And so he understood the needs of the women that were left behind. And this was a time before there were unions, before there was any protections through the government in terms of job security and responsibility to the family. He recognized that and started the Knights of Columbus to satisfy that. But at that time, there was also, as you said, a great deal of secret societies that were going on. And most of those at the time also had anti-Catholic sentiments.
Sure.
So he wanted to create a secret society that involved Catholic virtues. And so he named it the Knights of Columbus, and he did that because at the time Christopher Columbus was a revered American hero, one of the few Catholic American heroes, and Knights because it was coming out of the world, out of the Civil War, and a lot of the veterans related well to the name Knight. So that was something that everyone could rally around.
Sure. Yeah. So he's someone that more and more Catholics are getting to know about now that he's been declared blessed, which is one of the steps kind of moving towards canonization. This process has been going on for a little while, and at this special Mass in Hartford last Saturday, where there were a number of people associated with the Knights, with the Catholic Church in the United States, came together for this special Mass. How about saying a little bit about that Mass, about this opportunity to be part of that beatification?
Well, it was an incredible Mass, and one of the things that I find the parallels between Father McGivney's time and our time. Father McGivney passed away at a very young age, 2 days after his 38th birthday. And at the time he died of tuberculosis brought about by the Asiatic or Russian pandemic. So here's a priest that passed away in a pandemic, and his beatification is all these years later during another pandemic. So because of the COVID crisis, obviously, and the need for social distancing, the amount of people that were able to attend was very limited. It was done in the United States rather than in Rome. And but even then, it was a highly spirited, beautiful, beautiful Mass. The music was gorgeous. The readings were unbelievable. And one of my favorite parts about it is we kept hearing about Father McGivney's miracle. And it was a baby that was saved in the womb. The baby's life was saved in the womb. And we kept hearing about Father McGivney's miracle baby. So we arrived at the cathedral, St. Joseph's, and we're using the facilities as we'd gotten there a little bit early. And coming out, there was a little 5-year-old boy that was just as cute as he could be, that was dressed in a gray suit. And my wife said, "What a handsome little guy you are." And he said, "I love your coat. Can I touch your coat?" So he tugged her coat and said, "Well, that's really soft." And so they had a nice laugh about that. And it turns out that that was the miracle baby now 5 years later, little Mikey Schlackel. And his is an amazing story. And I mentioned earlier that Father McGivney was the oldest of 13. Well, Mikey's the youngest of 13. And he had Down syndrome. But along the course of the reviews for the pregnancy and doing the ultrasounds, they discovered that he also had hydropsy, which is a fatal disease, unfortunately. Lots of fluid on the organs and in the body, and no cure for that. At the time, Mr. Schlegel, who was also a Knight of Columbus insurance agent, won a trip to Fatima. And he and his wife said, we're going to Fatima, we're going to pray to Father McGivney to save our child. And if any child ever needed this little boy does. So they went to Fatima. They enlisted the intercession of Father McGivney with everyone that was there, had everyone back home in Tennessee also praying for him. And she came back and went to her next doctor's appointment, and the doctor came in and said, "Wow, this is a beautiful baby, and of course he has Down syndrome." And they said, "Wait a minute, I don't know who you are. You're the baby with hydropsis." And the ultrasound showed no evidence of that. He was completely cured. And when the curators went to interview the family to take the cause to Rome, they asked the family, "Well, you know what, we have to ask this, but he was cured of the fatal disease, hydropsis, but what about the Down syndrome?" And the story goes, the parents looked at each other, looked back at the curator and said, "You know what, we didn't pray for that. We prayed that he be kept alive, and we felt that his condition as a Down syndrome baby would just bring a lot of love to our other children," and that's the way it's turned out.
Sure, what a great story.
It is.
I know that Cardinal Archbishop Tobin from Newark was the main celebrant, and Archbishop Blair from Hartford, and Archbishop Laurie, who is the national chaplain for the Knights. I know that all of them were there, and I'm sure many priests from the Hartford diocese were able to be there.
Absolutely. It was a wonderful celebration in terms of, because at the end of the day, Father McGivney was a parish priest.
Sure.
And that's his legacy, is that his ability to relate to the parishioners and everything that they were going through. And like a lot of the priests that we see, yourself included, Father, it seems like boundless energy attending to all of the needs of the parish. So very relatable in that perspective. So it was grateful to see that turnout. And Father Tobin is a wonderful, warm bishop and cardinal, and related to Father McGivney's story very well.
Good. Maybe a final question. What does the beatification mean for the Knights? What impact does it have on the kind of the worldwide organization?
Well, I think it's a good question, Father, because the Knights of Columbus are built on 3 virtues that Father McGivney established back in 1882. And the first one is charity, and the second one is unity, because the more we're in this together, the more we can accomplish. And then the final one is fraternity. Again, taking care of one another. One of the big initiatives for the Knights of Columbus now is our Leave No Neighbor Behind initiative. Especially because of the pandemic, it's very timely. Where we're reaching out to people that we may not have heard from for a while, that may not be coming around anymore, just to make sure that they and their families are well. Do they need anything? Do you need assistance in any sense? So that really kind of gets back to his essence. But having Father McGivney beatified, obviously I think it provides a little credibility to our whole organization. And so we're anxious to, to get him over the next step and have him canonized as well. So we have a couple of things going on. There's the Father McGivney Guild, which captures those moments, and we're tracing those and reporting those to the Vatican. And also the former museum, the Knights of Columbus Museum in New Haven, which is a great little museum that not only reflects Catholic life from the mid-19th century till now, but also American life. And Catholics' involvement in that has been transformed now into the pilgrimage center for the cause of Blessed Father McGivney. So I encourage anyone to take that short hour-and-a-half ride to New Haven and visit this free museum and really enjoy yourself for a day. And I also note that another saint that we're very tied to is St. John Paul II. Mm-hmm. And the Knights of Columbus also operate his museum in Washington, D.C. So both great museums to visit.
Sure. And anytime we have a new beatified person in our church, it is a great occasion really for the whole church to rejoice and to see someone who we can turn to in prayer. And certainly the Knights now have a great advocate in Blessed Father Michael McGivney going forward in the good work that you do. So Mike, thanks for coming in today, and I think as parishioners watch this, they'll have a better understanding of who our new blessed is, Blessed Father Michael McGivney, and the good work of the Knights of Columbus. So thanks for coming in today.
Thank you very much, Father.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you.